swim, bike, and run big. Gee! Cause it's Breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome back to Breakfast with Bob. We're here at beautiful Huggo's on the Rocks. My name is Bob Babbitt, brought to you by Master Spas. SFuels, right fuel, right time. HOKA, Fly Human Fly. Deboer, Wetsuits, Quintana, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, appropriate enough to start off our first day with the CEO of Ironman, Mr. Scott DeRue, joins us. How you doing, Scott?
I am outstanding, Bob. Thanks for having me.
It's really a treat. And when you go out and go 5:48.08 in your first ever 70.3, you realize you're supposed to go slow and make the rest of us feel sort of good. You come out and kick ass and take names right from the start. What the hell?
It was such an incredible experience. I wanted to experience it like our athletes as a first timer, and to be out there with 2,700 of now my best friends. Yeah. It was truly an honor.
And I mean, you've done so much. When I look at, I think you've done the six of the 7 summits.
Almost there.
Almost there. 250K Gobi March Marathon. You've done so many different things. Obviously, Mount Everest. When you start talking about this is your first triathlon, after all these years of endurance, what'd you take away from it?
Well, one, I need to learn how to swim in a straight line. I guess I thought it was a slalom course as opposed to an Ironman swim course. Yeah. So that was a key lesson. But really what I took away was just the camaraderie of all the athletes. Yeah. I mean, everybody's out there. And yeah, you know, people want to win their age group and the like. But they're really out there just enjoying and sharing that joy, that suffering that is sort of triathlon, and doing it together, lifting each other up. And that was one of the things I really took away was just the camaraderie of the athletes during the experience.
Right. I look back at your background, and you were 5 years dean of Stephen M. Ross School of Business with Equinox. Mm-hmm. What did you take away from those two positions that helped you? That's helping you here.
I would say a couple things. One is there's a sense of purpose that's woven through everything, at least that I've done in my career, which is I just want to create experiences for people that are inspiring, right? That lift them up, that help people unlock their potential in life. So whether it's through education, health and fitness, or endurance sports now, these are experiences that are life-changing for people. So that's one sort of common theme. But the other thing is it's all about, in our case, the athlete, or in the Equinox case, the member. Or at the University of Michigan, it's about the students. And it's about the experience that you create for them. And that's what makes it so inspiring and so uplifting.
Well, and you think about it, you're dealing with Rock and Roll Marathon Series, you've got UTMB, all the Ironman and 70.3 events. It's all endurance, but it's all a little different. And talk a little bit about how do you balance all that? Because obviously it's all about customer service at the end of the day. You want people to have that experience and you want them to come back.
That's right.
How do you bring the customer service? When you work in a place like Equinox, it's all about customer service because they've got all these other options. How do you bring that here?
You get maniacal about every touch point in the journey of that customer, in the experience. Yeah. So whether it's digital or race day, race weekend, or every day in between, you're so focused on every aspect of that experience. And how do you elevate? How do you make that aspect of the experience that much better? Right. And you build a culture that is focused on the athlete first in everything that we do. So every decision that our team makes, we're putting the athlete first. And as long as we all do that, the rest takes care of itself. You know, it's so funny you say that. I remember I was having a conversation with Graham Fraser, who started Ironman North America, and we were talking about when I have a business meeting with a competitor, our staff meeting, and he'd have his meetings. It was always about, the first thing wasn't, what's our EBITDA, what's our bottom line? No. It was, how do we make the magazines better? How do we make the events better? And if you do that, the dollars take care of themselves. At the end of the day, we're here to serve, in our case, our athletes. Right. And create these experiences. And any dollar that you make just goes back into the experience, so you can continue to innovate. You can continue to elevate that experience and build more people, or bring more people into the sport, into our community. And so it's all about the athlete and putting the athlete first. What impressed me is from when you first got on board, here you are, photos at Rock and Roll, photos at UTMB, photos at Ironman events. It was, I think, important to you to say, hey, I'm embracing all of this, and I need to figure out what I don't know, and I need to do it now. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I don't know, but I also know that there's a lot to learn. Yes. And we have so many people like yourself who've been in the sport for decades. Since the earth was cooling. Yes, thank you for that. And there's so much knowledge there but there's also so much creativity and ideas about what the future should be.
Yes.
And so for me, it's about coming in and listening and learning and have an open mind of where are we at today, but where's a community do we want to go going forward?
Right.
And my job is very simple. How do I bring us as a community together to create that shared future together?
The thing for us, what I've noticed over the last decade is when I look at what brings people in our sport, sprint distance, Olympic distance, people come into the sport, they don't know what they don't know. They come and they do a sprint, they go, I like this. They stay in and do Olympic,
That's right.
and it becomes their lifestyle. What I've seen over the last decade is people coming in and going, hey, I want to be an Ironman. And they come in, they hire a coach, they take 6 months, they train, they finish the race, they get their MDOT, and they move on to something else. You know, it's to me, and then what happens is we lose some of our smaller, our shorter distance events. A lot of the sprint and Olympics go away, and those are welcome at for the sport.
Yep.
How do we incorporate those and still follow the Ironman dream?
That pipeline of events from sprint all the way up to the Ironman distance, that's what creates our pipeline.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's so important that every piece of that puzzle is healthy. And so prior to the pandemic, I'll just talk about the U.S. Prior to the pandemic, there were about 3,000 triathlons of all different flavors, shapes, and sizes in the U.S. Today, there are 3,000.
Wait, three?
So the same number that we had pre-pandemic, we have today in the U.S.
I don't know if that's really, you think that is?
That's straight from USAT.
Well, I've got a little the numbers from USA. What I see, because I know all the numbers. I would be talking to Rocky Harris, president of USA Triathlon. He said, "Hey, we have 4,000 events in this country," and I'm like, "Rocky, listen, I'm in San Diego, the hub of this.
Sure.
And if we've got 6 in San Diego, then where are the other 3,994 of them? Because they're not out there. So what's happened is, I think the way they count events is a little different.
Maybe. It may be. But either way, even if the numbers are slightly inflated or maybe off a bit, the idea of how do we ensure the ecosystem is healthy at every piece. And so what we want to do is inspire people. If they're saying, I want to be an Ironman, and that's the aspiration, most people don't start with a 70.3 or an Ironman.
Yeah.
Most people.
Most people also haven't done the 6 summits, so that's okay. Yeah.
Most people. And so the way we think about it is if we can inspire more people to want to be triathletes, most of them are going to start in sprint or Olympic distance and then eventually work their way up. And what we find is that those are the people that as they work their way up, those are the people that make it a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's what we want.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? And there are always going to be the people that want to check the box and have that life-defining experience and then go do something different.
Right.
But most people, if you can get them to work their way up, it's going to become part of their lifestyle. It's going to be part of their community, their social circle. And now it's sticky. Now we're growing the sport. And that's our focus.
Exactly. When you look at UTMB and rock and roll, it's funny because our company back in the day, we owned rock and roll.
Sure.
And I always felt when Ironman bought it, was like, oh my God, you've got 650,000 runners who can become triathletes. Let's figure out how to make that happen. Is that part of the plan? It's like, hey, we've got this whole group of runners, and we both know the orthopedic reality. When you turn 60 or so, you're not running, right? You're not running like you did when you were 50. You need to incorporate swimming and cycling in order to keep running. So how do you get our rock and roll marathoners and half marathoners to say, hey, let's do a little cross training and maybe move into shorter distance triathlons, and eventually you'll come to 70.3 in Ironman.
Yeah, and we certainly see some of that crossover.
Okay.
I mean, I was in Chamonix for the UTMB World Finals a few weeks ago, and the number of Ironman bags that I saw walking around town was actually quite inspiring. So whether it's rock and roll, UTMB, or other sports, we're looking to see if we can fuel or motivate that crossover.
Yeah.
But it's also important for us to appreciate that these communities, the cultures, are actually unique.
Very unique.
Right? And the triathlon community is unique in and of itself. The trail running community is unique in and of itself.
Yep.
The rock and roll running series, in many ways, it's a party.
It's a party.
Right? It's a party with a run. It's social. And that's a different vibe, a different experience than, say, a UTMB or an Ironman or 70.3. So, yes, we want to motivate and inspire people to experience different endurance sports. We just think it's great for the world and our community. But we also want to appreciate the uniqueness that makes each of these sports special.
Yeah. So UTMB just over the last 5-6 years has gone crazy, right?
Yeah.
It used to be ultra runners. We always felt they were like witness protection guys, right? they were like people. I don't want any media coming and covering me. This is my sport. Get away. You know, it was like different. But UTMB changed all that, right? Mm-hmm. It really, same way Ironman changed triathlon. It's all about it's your own journey.
Yeah.
And it's brutal. But it's something that you will carry with you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And spending time now, I'm guessing that was a community you were more familiar with from Gobi Run and things like that.
Yeah, I mean the trail running community, certainly in terms of where I've grown up in endurance sports and adventures and the like, whether it's mountaineering or trail running or ultra running, that was more sort of closer to home.
Right.
But I've really enjoyed. I mean, like, this weekend in Wilmington, North Carolina, really getting to know and immerse myself in the triathlon community as well. And that's, for me, the way I learn what makes each of these cultures and communities unique is immersing myself in them.
Yes.
And that's been really inspiring for me.
So take me back a little bit to when you got into all this. Were you always a runner, like through grammar school, high school?
No, I mean, I grew up in a one-stop-like town in North Carolina where I didn't know any of this endurance stuff even existed. I played American football and basketball and
all the traditionals.
Yeah, the traditional sports. And then went to college and water skied for a bit because I thought that would be fun.
Yeah.
But then I met a group of runners. And I just started running with them. And one of them was on the cross-country team at UNC. And she took me out for a run one day, and I thought it went well.
Yeah.
And then we went for our next run, and it didn't go so well for me. And then I realized the first run, she took it really easy on me. And I was hooked. And so I started running longer distances and building those slow twitch as opposed to fast twitch. And then I just wanted to start traveling the world. I'd never really traveled much. And endurance sports and mountaineering became a reason to travel. And that's what got me hooked. And I just love it.
The difference between something like this and a rock and roll marathon is, aid stations every couple of miles. When you're doing the stuff that you were doing, I'm guessing like the Gobi Marathon, there's nothing out there. You're self-contained. Did you have some scary moments at some of those events where, because you're putting your life in danger?
The Gobi's really well organized. Racing the Planet Series does an amazing job. They have aid stations about every 8 miles or so. And so they do a remarkable job. Mountaineering's a different animal.
Everest,
whether if you're in the Himalaya or if you're in Antarctica and something goes wrong, there's no aid station. There's no medical team that's and so you have to be very self-sufficient.
Right.
And what I learned is you have to really work together as a team.
Yes.
Because something unexpected is always going to happen.
Yeah.
That's true in a triathlon too. I've heard people describe triathlon, and especially the Ironman distance, as a problem-solving Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Something's going to go wrong or something unexpected is going to happen. How do you figure it out?
Yes.
Mountaineering's no different. In that instance, you have a team that either you have to take care of or they're going to help take care of you, or probably both. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about that sport is just the team aspect of it.
Yes.
Because you and I are literally tied together, and we're only going as fast as whichever of us is slower.
which would be me, by the way. Yeah. With Everest, we had a woman a number of years ago who actually climbed Everest, and then that same year came here and did Ironman.
Wow.
Right? And I called it peak to heat. Right?
I like that. We should actually make that a challenge.
Right? Peak to heat challenge. Anyways, there was something about, she just said, they'd done all the 7 summits.
Sure.
She said Everest was just all because you have to so much prep and so much hanging out before you go.
Yeah.
What was the experience like for you?
Well, I mean, so I trained specifically for that mountain for about 9 months. And what most people don't tell you about Everest is you climb it 3 times. You just don't go to the top the first 2.
Really?
So you get to base camp, which takes you about 10 days to hike to. You get settled, get organized, practice a little bit, get your team, well oiled. And then you go about halfway up the mountain. Then you come all the way back down
Why?
to acclimatize.
Okay.
Right? Because your body is adjusting and acclimatizing to the lack of oxygen.
Yes.
So you're building those red blood cells.
Right.
And then you rest for a bit. Then you go 3/4. Then you come all the way back down. And then you rest for another 4 or 5 days.
It's like a full, what is it, a couple month experience?
It's 2 months.
2
door
months,
to door.
wow.
And then after that second rotation of the mountain, when we were resting, I had lost about 15 pounds.
That's not good for a
I don't
guy.
have 15 pounds to lose.
You don't.
I think I gained 4 pounds at breakfast while we were resting. And so you just eat, sleep, and then you're waiting for the weather window. Because on Everest, it's a big weather game at the end. But by that point, you're so fit, you're so acclimatized, you're really fast moving up the mountain. And so then you're just waiting for the right weather window, and then you go all the way to the top, hopefully, and then you come back down.
One of the coolest things that has happened to sport in a number of years is the Pro Series.
Yep.
Your Ironman Pro Series. The athletes have jumped in
Yeah.
with both feet. They're really excited about it. Extra dollars for them. Obviously, what you guys are doing television or coverage-wise, total step up. Everything has been wonderful. You're coming in when that thing is launching, right?
Yeah.
What's your takeaways from the Ironman Pro Series?
It's been a huge success, and I measure that by the feedback of our athletes,
Right.
and how much they want to engage. And so we've seen a tremendous level of engagement among our pro athletes this year. The drama, the intrigue, where every second matters.
It does.
I mean, here this weekend, it's going to impact the
Huge.
standings in the Pro Series in a big way.
Yep.
And so it's created a storyline for the sport. All of this is about bringing greater visibility to the sport of the triathlon.
Absolutely.
And building a platform where we together can grow the sport. The Ironman Pro Series becomes a platform where the very best in the world can compete among the very best on the biggest stage, and we can show the world.
Yes.
And that's what we've done. And we're really excited about not only finishing out this season, but launching the 25 season coming up.
I talked to obviously a lot of pros, and this is a great era to be a pro. Between the Ironman Pro Series, Challenge, PTO, Super League.
Absolutely.
There's so much out there now, T100 through PTO. When you guys look at it, obviously competition is good. It drives everybody to be better.
Absolutely.
Somebody's doing good television, I got to do better television.
Absolutely.
Right? That's the way it works. Do you look at it that way?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, and there's the competitive aspect to it, which can drive the innovation. There's also the reality that the world's a big place. There's room for all of us.
Yes, there is.
Right? And together, that ecosystem is growing the sport, growing the community. That is good for everyone.
Yes.
Right? And so that's how I look at it. And I want all of those other brands and companies that you named, I want them to be successful. Because if we are all successful, triathlon is successful.
Yeah. Back in the day when I had Competitor and John Duke had Triathlete Magazine and Dan Emfield had Quintana Run Slow Twitch.
Sure.
The whole thing was it was the high tide floats all boats, right? Everybody's successful, everybody wins. That's the way it works.
Exactly.
I love that's what you're bringing to the table. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Scott DeRue, thank you so much for taking time. Hopefully we'll get to chat more down the line, but you're doing great stuff, and I like the way you jumped in with both feet and just 5:48. Come on now. People train their whole life and don't get close to 5:48. You can drop the mic now and go, I'm done. But know you're going to go faster.
It's not about the time. My goal was to finish with a smile on my face, and I did that, and I'm just grateful to be part of this community.
Scott DeRue has been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob. Poncho Man, take us out.
It's Aloha Monday. Let's swim in bright day. Chee! Cause it's breakfast with Bob. Chee!
And Poncho Man.